While I'm talking about swing bowling, I might as well talk about the balls a bit. This is an actual Duke's ball. This is the ball that's used in England for Test cricket. It's kind of an unusual one because it's like a Rolls Royce in a Prius world. This one is still handmade. Like Rolls Royces are totally handmade, and this ball is still made in England the old-fashioned way. There's only a couple places that use the Duke's ball: the West Indies and England. The big difference with the Duke's ball to the Kookaburra, which is used in most of the world, is the Kookaburra is only sewn through the main seam here. This seam goes to this seam here. These ones are just for decoration. They go around in a circle. On the Duke's ball, this outer one is connected to that outer one, and this one here is connected to that one. Because that's holding it tightly that way, it keeps the seam from flattening out and getting squashed. And they use these balls for a long time. In a test match, a red ball is used for 480 pitches before it's replaced. So it starts off hard and shiny and ends up completely mushy. Whenever a ball is hit into the crowd will throw it back. Even if they didn't and tried to pocket the ball, the security would go and get the ball and bring it back. Once in a while, a ball gets lost, and they have a selection of balls that are about so old. You know, they have marks on them. I think they write, how many overs it was. Like when a game finishes in the 30th over, they save that ball, and if a ball gets hit into a pond or something, because you can hit it out of the park, they'll go in the 30th over, they'll go and they'll look and they're like, oh, here's a 32. Let's use that one. Anyhow, how the ball is made, there's a little seam here and here the other way. These are called quarter seams. Well, it's not little, it's the same size. There's 4 pieces of leather. It's sewn very delicately inside this thick leather so that you can't see that, and then it's polished over. And then this is the main seam, which acts as a keel if you're swing bowling. As they play, they will polish one side of the ball. Most balls, if I understand correctly, are not perfectly balanced and have a tendency to go one way or the other. This is a side with a lion, a crown, and a unicorn. If it were me, I'd be like, that's the unicorn side. And this one just has a lion on it. So you got a lion side and a unicorn side. These guys do this for a living. The first time you throw the ball, you can tell if it's going to go lion or unicorn. And then if it's naturally going, let's say it's going towards, this is the unicorn, well, you'll tell everyone, okay, polish the lion side, because it moves away from the side you polish. It's the same principle as an airplane wing. The side where the air moves faster has more air molecules, and that makes a pressure that way. The flat side of an airplane wing is the side that pushes the airplane up. That's why the flat side's on the bottom. And so they'll polish this side of the ball and let the other side rough up. At a certain point in the game, it can happen that the rough side is actually slicker through the air because there's so much turbulence, and it'll start to move the other way. They call that reverse swing. It's very, what's the word? It's a lot of fine tuning, and it doesn't always happen. And these guys make millions of dollars being able to reverse swing the ball. You are tilting the ball to the side you want it to go to, but if you're tilting it the wrong way, it's just going to go straight, more or less. Sometimes balls just won't swing. Now, here are the other kinds of balls. Well, this is just a cheap Kookaburra, the red one. It doesn't look that different. And this is a cheap one. That's a $15 red ball. This is a $15 pink ball. The Kookaburra is actually more expensive, even though it's the mass-produced one. I think it's like $200 for a matched Kookaburra ball. And this is an SG ball, the white one, which is what the brand they use in India. All the world uses Kookaburra, except for India, West Indies, and England. And I'm not going to talk about the SG ball. It's basically the same as the Kookaburra from what I understand. These ones are painted rather than lacquered, so they don't polish as well. However, the pink ball is famous for swinging a lot. You can kind of see it, I think, because it's like plastic. I think what happens is if this ball has a tendency to lean one way or the other, it goes like crazy because it's just so slick through the air. That's my theory. There are people that have written dissertations on what makes a cricket ball break the way it does. I think they're pretty sure, but it's not something that I think is completely settled science yet. Anyhow, the Duke's ball, because of that higher seam that lasts longer, they call it a proud seam, which sounds vaguely phallic to me. But because the seam is prouder, it will swing. It can swing all the way through the 480 pitches that it's used for sometimes without going flat. Now it's going to lose all of its polish, but if that seam is still standing up, you might be able to get it to go one way or the other. If the ball is totally round and the polish is gone off both sides, it just becomes flat and the ball goes straight, and it gets very hard to get batters out at that point. And you start to see different strategies used because obviously it's not going to swing. So that's when they tend to start trying to hit them in the face more. Body blows are a sure way to distract a batter and get him to stop being as focused on his game. And I'm just holding the stupid ball here and turning it because, I'm just talking at you. But hey, whatever. And no, I didn't buy this Duke's ball myself. Someone refused to apologize for something stupid they did. They just refused. And finally, instead of apologizing, they sent me this ball. So now I have a $150 mantelpiece decoration, but at least I can use it for a demonstration. So, swing, tilt it to one side. Hopefully it will rudder to one side or the other. Start polishing the side that it moves away from, and hopefully you'll maintain that swing. And then sometimes you get reverse swing when the rough side gets slicker through the air than the other. Some balls don't swing at all ever, and that's really frustrating for the bowlers. They also say that swing works better in cloudy conditions or when it's slightly humid. I don't understand why it would. There's some theories about denser air, like, in the Colorado park, balls move further, and I think they don't heat them up there. I think they use them colder or something. I can't remember. I know they treat the ball a little bit different at the Colorado Rockies Stadium. But anyhow, they say that the weather affects it. Personally, I think that air currents, slight breezes, have more to do with it. They say the pink ball tends to move especially right when they turn the lights on in the evening. And I think that's because of the differential heating, and there's going to be some little air eddies at that time of day. And also because the batters are just not used to the light, and so they're not as good at reacting to the ball. But there's a bowler named Mitchell Stark who's famous for being just brutal with the pink ball when the lights start coming on. He's brutal in general. He's got what they call a high strike rate. Strike rate is how many balls you throw between outs, and the lower the better. And I think he's like 44 or something like that, is in the top in the world. Anyway, there's a lot of stats in cricket, and hopefully I explained swing bowling and the differences in the balls well enough for you to feel like you've learned something.